Hi there, welcome to another exciting episode of Next Wave TV. I'm your host, Tony Reale. Since our last episode of Next Wave TV, I've been getting a ton of great questions about my camera rig. People asking how I configured it and what kind of equipment that I use for it. So I decided I'm going to dedicate an entire episode of Next Wave TV to building your own prosumer camera rig. Now this is going to be a fairly long episode because I'm just going to be rambling on indefinitely about all the different equipment that I use. So hopefully you won't get too bored, but for the YouTube viewers this is going to be divided into 3 different segments because it is me talking a lot. So feel free to check out any one of those. If you get too bored, just turn it off. But anyways, we're going to be separating that. I'm going to try and go into detail about all the different equipment that I use. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, now an important thing to note before we even get started is that everything you see here is a configuration that I came up with. Basically I did some research, I found different items, and I basically built this rig as I thought that would work best for me. That is not to say that there couldn't be thousands of other configurations for similar rigs out there. So please, when you're building your own rig, when you're coming up with your own stuff, don't limit yourself to everything you see here. Come up with some of your own designs. Find things that'll work better for you than maybe they would have been for me. And there's probably a lot of stuff out there that I didn't even come across, and so I didn't even think of incorporating it. So don't limit yourself to what you see here. Building a prosumer rig can be very much a do-it-yourself project. There may be things that you have to build yourself in order for them to work properly. So do some research, find out what's going to work best for you, as I always say. So let's get started. I'm going to basically categorize things as need or don't need, and that's basically because some of these things on here you don't necessarily need in order for the rig to work. Some you do, otherwise it just won't work at all. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to mention is the rail system on here, and the rail system is basically the core of your rig. The rail system comes across here. It's also known as a rod support system, and basically that's what everything attaches to. The main reason for a rail system is to support the weight of everything that you're attaching to the camera. First off, as I mentioned in the last episode, I have a Brevis depth of field adapter, and in order for that to screw onto the camera, it just screws onto the thread of the face of it. But since there's so much weight from the depth of field adapter, it could actually damage the camera and could fall off if it's not supported by the weight of the rail system. So the rail system basically gives an even weight to everything that's on here. The model I have here is a Cinevate rail system. It's really great quality, and it is actually carbon fiber, so it's very strong but also very durable and very lightweight. And I really do like this system. There are different lengths of rail systems depending on the size of your camera. If you have a larger camera, prosumer or professional grade camera, you may need a longer rail system to physically attach it. As I mentioned before, I have a Canon HV30. I really do like the camera. It is a consumer camera that has good quality image, but it's rather small. If you saw this camera by itself, you wouldn't think that you would normally attach all this stuff to it. But it does produce a great image, so it allows me to add all these accessories to it. Now the thing about rail systems is there's a 15 millimeter diameter to the rails, and they're typically 60 millimeters apart. And this creates a standard for all these other attachments. You can build your own rail system if you want to, but typically it's going to be hard for you to find this or create one to these specifications. And if you want to add additional accessories, it may be difficult for you to do that later if you build one that's a different size. So I do recommend getting a unit that is built. There's plenty of different models. Cinevate isn't the only one that makes them. There's lots of different models out there. A lot of depth of field manufacturers make their own rail systems too, so check those out and find one that's going to work well for you. So rail system I categorize as a need because that's really at the core of the unit that you see here. Alright, so now we're going to move over to the support system that you see here. And I have a shoulder support and I have a handle grip right here. These are made by Cavision. They're really good quality. I really like them. Cavision makes some great stuff that you wouldn't find pretty much anywhere else. And this allows basically, obviously, for this to go across my shoulder and hold it up, and then these dual handle grips here allow me to hold it steady on my face. Now this I would categorize as not necessary, that you don't need it, because if you're going to attach your camera to your tripod, you might not even need any run and gun. This is basically for running and gunning, and if you want to have movement and moving around. If your rig's going to be attached to your tripod at all times, then you might not necessarily need it. So it's not necessary. But if you do get one, shoulder support is highly recommended because it's going to allow you to rest a lot of that weight onto your shoulder. And I do recommend the dual handle grips. I was debating if I was going to get the single or the dual. And I recommend the dual because it allows you to not only hold it steadier when you have both hands, but if you're manually adjusting your focus, or if you're adjusting things over here, you can swap hands, and it's a lot easier to do that than trying to do it with one handle grip. Now, this rig here, everything is around 15 pounds, I estimate. I didn't put it on a scale, but it's around that weight, so it's quite heavy. And even with the shoulder support, it can get to be quite heavy. So another unit that I recommend that I picked up on eBay is this, I don't even know what to call it. It's basically like a shoulder support, but what it does is it runs across your head, and it comes across your arm like this. And then the rig rests on top of here, and then this rests kind of on your stomach or your chest area. And then the rig will screw into this. It has a standard tripod screw in here. And this is really great because even despite the handle grips and the shoulder mount, it's still hard, and after carrying it for a while, you can get really weighted. This alleviates a lot of the weight. This isn't rated for the weight that this is, but with the shoulder support, it kind of evens the weight out across your whole body. And I do recommend this because with this, I can get much steadier shots, and I can even, for time, if I really want to, I can let go of the front of the rig and it stays fairly steady. So this I highly recommend. It's a great little unit. You can find plenty of different models out there, but this is nice and sturdy, made out of steel, so really good quality. Alright, so next thing is your tripod, and a good tripod